You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Supernatural Chat Show with your host, Sean Cadman, only on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Supernatural Chat Show with me, your host, Sean Cadman. Tonight I've got a repeat guest. Many of you know this lady. She's owner of arguably the biggest ghost hunting company in the country. She has to deal with a lot of flack, especially recently. There may be some controversial topics covered tonight, but I think it's going to be a good show. Welcome, Hazel Ford. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Sean. How are you?
I'm not too bad at all, thanks. So, I think most people have seen the explosion that's happened on social media this week on Facebook over the last couple of days. If you just want to tell everybody what's happened and everything, I mean, myself, I know a few ins and outs and bits and bobs of it, but if you want to tell everybody else what's happened, then we'll carry on from there.
Well, basically, I mean, social media, as we all know, is a platform, and it's a platform for the great and the good, and it's a platform for the bad and the weak, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And we do a lot of ghost hunts. We sort of organise ghost hunts all over the country, and we do a lot of weekend tours. And the weekend tours themselves take a lot of planning and a lot of hard work. Yeah. Excuse me a minute. Just need a good cough. And we do one at Pendle Hill, and which, you know, I think is about £259, to be honest, 249, something like that. Yeah. And which we consider to be really good value for money when you consider what you get. And we've done them for years. And suddenly this post went up on somebody's Facebook saying, it was one of these posts that doesn't name and shame, but sort of sets, it's like lighting a touch paper, isn't it? Yes. Saying that we were, basically a company was selling a weekend in Pendle on a public right-of-way for £250, basically saying that was an extortionate amount of money to go somewhere that you can go for free. Didn't even bother to mention what else was included in terms of the hotels, the coaches, the meals, everything that you get with it, including investigations at the hotel. And unfortunately, somebody sent me a screenshot of it, which I don't normally look around Facebook because I'm, you know, like you probably, you look so much you could just be lost in it completely. Yeah. And I thought, and I just snapped basically and thought, you know, enough's enough. This is ridiculous. A, I know it's not true, so that's not even into the question. But B, it's just the way it's done. It's so manipulative and so it incites hatred. It almost incites people to come on and say, which exactly what they did, how disgusting. I mean, I was called, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this show or not, but
I don't mind.
Well, I was called a robbing bastard. I was called so much stuff, and or, you know, the company was, but then it defaulted to myself personally. Yeah. And you know, all of this stuff was so unnecessary. There was no need for it. No need. Why couldn't he have just this person come to me and said, I've just been to Pendle and I've realised you're charging this amount of money. Can you explain what you get for that money? And then, you know, I'll be able to work out for myself if it's good value. And if I want to post then I will do. It's always about trying to cause a negative response and a negative reaction for whatever reason he decides to do it, which I don't know.
That's it happens a lot, especially with event companies. Obviously, not just haunted happenings, but you see it with a lot of event companies where certain individuals just seem to attack them constantly for the pricing without actually looking into the costs that's involved in putting these events on. Like you say, to pay your Pendle Hill event, it's not just an investigation on Pendle Hill. You've got hotels, coach trips, 3-course meals. But they don't look at that. They just jump straight on a bandwagon and dive in feet first.
But they also are accusing the public of being completely stupid as well. Because if I was a member of the public and I was going to book one of these events, I would work out for myself if it was value for money before I booked it. I would never spend £250 on an investigation on Pendle Hill. Personally, I wouldn't do it.
No.
But if I got everything else included in that, in terms of all the, you know, the accommodation. I mean, the hotel's fantastic. You know, the spa's great. The coaches, everything's done for you. They don't have to think for 2 days really.
Yeah.
Everything's done to the point where they drop the car off on a Friday and then they don't pick it up again until Sunday morning. But it's not just that. It's the fact that all of us companies that run events, we all are in a business. We run a business.
Yeah. And
we all have outgoings and incomings like any business. And, you know, people would be very shocked and surprised at the amount of profit that are made in these types of events. You know, it's not huge profit markups.
I think people think that companies like yourself are making an absolute fortune, thousands of pounds a week, but that's not the case. They don't realise the costs involved.
No,
the time and effort.
And we're in a slow part of the year at the moment, and I've got events that I'm running at cost or at losses. You know, I've got 2 events this weekend that I'm running at losses, but I'm not cancelling because the guests have booked onto these events. Unless I absolutely have to cancel, I don't ever cancel an event, even if it means that, you know, it's 2/3 full or even half full. I'll still run it, and we're not going to make a penny. But it's all about, you know, a business takes its ups and its downs, and we're in a downtime at the moment, and you know we're sucking it up and we're going for it.
Yeah,
people don't see that; they just think it's so easy, and it's not. It really isn't easy.
Oh, it's not. Do you think that sort of the person in question made the attack to promote himself?
Absolutely. I mean, very strange. I know I'm not allowed to mention this person's name, so I'm not going to. But very strange that suddenly a sale went on his own website today, which he probably would have put that up on the back of the amount of controversy that he's caused, which also causes people to go to see who he is. Yeah. And I played right into his hands there, believe me, and I do know that. But at the time, I really didn't care, because I did respond to him, you know, and I'm not proud of my response. But sometimes, you know, I'm a human being, and I don't like being attacked for things that I haven't done wrong or have done no business from people like himself. You know, he's not going to book this event. So what business is it of his, whether or not it costs £500 or 50 quid? It shouldn't have any, you know, he's there to incite this hatred from people. And the paranormal world isn't the easiest place to be in, as most people are in it. No.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a very hard place. And 90% of the people in it are fantastic, you included. You know, there's some brilliant people that I'm proud to know, but some of them, honestly.
It seems to happen almost daily at the moment on Facebook. There's like a certain core group of people out there that just seem intent on destroying reputations.
Absolutely. And they've with nothing to lose, though. They've got nothing to lose by doing it.
No.
And you know, Haunted Happenings has got a lot to lose. It's got a good name. which is the most important thing for me. You know, that the name of Haunted Happenings is a good name.
Yeah.
You know, we've never defaulted, never. I've never not paid somebody. I've always paid my bills. I've always made sure my guests are looked after. The team are fantastic. They're a brilliant group of people. So, you know, I've got lots to lose, an awful lot. Yeah. My reputation is so important, but they haven't got a reputation to worry about.
No, I mean, a lot of these people, I suppose you call them lone wolves, they class themselves as individual investigators or whatever they want to call themselves. So they've got nothing to look. They've not worked for years like yourself and other people in the industry to gain a reputation and gain that trust off the public. And something like the attack that has took place can be so damaging. Do you think that they're actually, that's their intention, to damage it, or just put themselves up?
I don't think they care, or he cares as much about damaging my company as much as he does about promoting himself. And there was one little comment that was made that stood out miles to me, and it's when this person said, "I have no problem with what events companies charge." And I thought, I have no problem. It's almost like saying, I'm in control of this and I'm going to judge. Yeah. I'm going to judge this. And at the moment, I have no problem. But when I do, I'll let you know. You know, it's like, who the hell does this guy think he is?
Parapolicing.
You know, yeah, I mean, who does he think he is that he can judge whether he's got a problem on behalf of everybody else? Yeah. It's outrageous. It really is. I mean, you can probably hear how angry I am still, because I am.
I don't blame you. It's not only his comment. You've got all the mindless people jumping on there, agreeing with him, and oh yeah, it's disgusting. It's this, it's that, and when they've not, well, probably not a single one of them has actually looked into the weekend to see what's involved and what they get.
No, and they get an awful lot for their money. I mean, they get a 4-star hotel and spa. They get two coaches, so we have to pay for 2 coaches. Yeah. They get a historian all day with them on the Saturday. They get 2 investigations. They get a private room at the hotel for our, you know, we get our own private room as well to eat in. So it's a beautiful room that they don't have to eat in a restaurant. They get the investigation, the team costs. I mean, they get, like I say, they drop the car on the Friday. They've got nothing to worry about till the Sunday. They get entrance to the Heritage Centre. They get the investigation on Pendle Hill itself, which admittedly we don't pay for that.
Yeah.
But it's still coached there. We still coach everybody there, and there's costs involved in that. And actually, the profit in it, like I say, is absolutely minimal. I mean, you wouldn't get that anywhere else. What they do get.
No.
But you know,
I mean, does stuff like this sometimes make you sit there and think, you know, I've had enough of all this?
Well, actually, Sean, strange you should ask that. There was a comment made today where I was told, am I allowed to swear on here?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically this guy comes on and says, Hazel Ford, shut up and fuck off. Now, do I deserve that? I don't think so. What have I done to deserve being spoken to like that by somebody I've never met before in my life, that I've only voiced, I don't swear. Do you know what I mean? I don't go on Facebook swearing and calling people names and abusing people. So just because I'm not happy about what's been done to my business, that's how I'm treated. Now, my family see this. You know, I've got a husband, children, aunts, uncles. They're looking at that. Yeah. And I find it disgusting. So, yeah, there are times when I think, you know, is this worth it? I've got a great business. I've got 50 team members. I've got great office staff. I've got everything I could want in a company. But what is missing is unity.
Yeah.
Across the and sorry to keep going on because I know you're trying to get a word in edgeways here.
Carry on, that's fine.
But one of my best friends in the business, in the community, in the whole paranormal environment, is actually Jess from Dust Till Dawn.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? This isn't about dog eat dog. This is about respect, and it's about, I respect Jess enormously.
Yeah.
You know, she's my main competitor, and I absolutely respect her, and we're great friends.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like they're trying to make it.
It doesn't. I mean, I was actually speaking to Jess the other week, popped round to see her and having a chat, and she suffers the same. People attacking dusk till dawn. It's like absolutely crazy. Like you say, why can't everybody just get along?
Yeah, and I mean, we could go down the road of discussing the difference between investigation and events companies, because I think that's, if you ever go onto these Facebook tirades, they're mainly about charging money and about how people can't possibly be charging this for that because they do it with their team and they're investigators. And that is the fundamental difference. There are investigators and then there are experience companies like myself.
Yeah.
We are not paranormal investigators. We do not go to an event to become a paranormal investigator. We are facilitators. We run an event so that other people can try and get a level of authenticity on doing a ghost hunt in a haunted building. That's our role and that's our job. We're not in competition with the investigators who do a fantastic job. They go off in their teams and they're, you know, admittedly, companies like mine make the prices higher. I'm not disputing that at all, but we're suffering just as much as the investigators are.
Yeah.
And the way that I'm combating this is that I bring small groups onto our events. And that way they're not even paying for the location for hire. We're doing that, and then we're charging them cost. So they get to do the event on their own, working around us, and they can investigate it in their own way.
You've just actually answered Kaz Rooney's put a question that does Hazel feel locations are taking advantage and booking with big events teams and driving the price up on smaller teams?
Absolutely. And I will be, I mean, Kaz, if you're listening, I will be really honest with you. You know, we are also struggling with this to the point where we're actually pulling out of locations because we've recognised that, you know, it's almost becoming abusive in what they're doing. The small events teams cannot possibly, I mean, I'm not decrying what they can, I'm not saying what people can afford and what they can't, so I'm not trying to sit on a pedestal here. But I can't imagine if you just wanted to go and investigate, let's give an example, Warwick Castle is a great example. It's going to cost you a lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
You know, as a small group, there's no way, unless you're wealthy, that you can do it.
Yeah.
But Warwick, to be fair to them, have held their price for 10 years. They've never tried to charge us any more.
Yeah, I think it's the same with Galleries of Justice as well, isn't it? They've kept their prices for as long as I can remember now. Absolutely,
they you know, there are some brilliant locations that aren't greedy. They've kept the price, and all I would say to the smaller investigation teams is that, you know, if they wanted to join us on any location, they've only got to get in touch, and if we can get them on, and then they'll just pay the cost that, you know, the cost, not the overheads that we would charge the guests.
Yeah. I contacted a few venues and working with a certain I call it a TV team, let's call them.
Yeah.
They seem to be getting an awful lot of exclusive locations by offering more money than their locations are actually asking for.
Right.
What's your opinion on that one?
Well, again, you know, it's so difficult, isn't it? There's almost levels, there's almost tiers, isn't there? Aren't there? So that you've got your small investigation team, then you've got your startup events companies, then you've got your established events companies, and then you've got those that, because of their own popularity, will absolutely guarantee that they can fill those places, so they can literally charge what they like and pay whatever they need to pay.
Yes.
And I think that's the main difference. We're one of the larger events companies. We can't afford to pay whatever we need to. We can't guarantee that we haven't got that popularity that allows us to sit on our laurels and think, well, we're going to fill the events anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is very difficult, and I can't really say, you know, what people can do about it, but it is, I could admit it's difficult.
It is. It's getting harder and harder, actually, to find venues that are charging a reasonable price now.
Yeah, I mean, well, you've been to the Vic School. I mean, I run the Vic School venue. I charge £200 for that, you know, and people can have it for the whole night and go and investigate there. Now, it's not the biggest location, But in a way, I mean, we get nothing for that because that's what I pay the location. So we don't get anything. This is not a profit thing. I'm just trying to find a way, I suppose, of giving some of these smaller investigation groups somewhere they can go at not much cost. And the £200 that we charge is literally eaten up by, costs. That's it. Yeah. But you're right. There's very, very few locations now. That,
do you think some of these people that attack yourselves and Dusk Till Dawn and Simply Ghost Nights, etc., are failed event company hosts?
I think. Well, oh God.
There's a bit of jealousy in there.
Yeah, I'm going to be really honest, I think it's probably the safest way because I'll stand by what I say. I think you're right. I think people that try to set up an events company and have not succeeded, and I've been blamed endlessly for that. So if somebody hasn't succeeded in their business, it's because I've done something or Dusk Till Dawn have done something. We've always done something.
Yeah. When
I started Haunted Happenings, I had a lot of money to start it up. I didn't just start it from nothing. I invested in it. I put the money in, and I took the hits, and I lost money, and and I had to knock on doors. I think I told you this in my last show. We were door knocking to get people, and we didn't have the Facebook that we have now, so it was a lot harder to fill these events. And I think people think it's so easy. And they go and start up these companies and they can't do it. And they can't look to themselves to think, hang on a minute, what did I do wrong? Did I work hard enough? Did I take the hits? Did I invest enough money? What did I do that could have improved that? The easiest thing to do is attack anybody around them that seems to be succeeding.
Yeah. I think people seem to think that if they book a venue, for example, Galleries of Justice, that straight away, everybody knows the Gallery of Justice, so straight away they're going to sell out all the tickets, and with a month to go before their investigation, they've sold 5 tickets.
Yeah.
And I think they then, in their minds, for some reason, are blaming established event company. It's your fault, you're pinching all the customers. It's like, well, no, you're not pinching customers, you've earned them customers.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to blow my own trumpet, but this weekend, for example, a group came to me and said, would you advertise our charity event for us on your Facebook? Now, of course I will. It's no problem to me to do that. We've got, 100 and whatever, 10,000 people. If it's going to help them and they'll be able to, it's a charity event. I've got no issues with helping anybody. Yeah. What I do have issues with are people that are not recognising that this is a business and they've got to run it as a business. They've got to be able to run it as a business or they're going to fail and ruin their own reputations.
Exactly. I think that's the problem. I think you get a lot of the hobbyists suddenly decide, I can do this. This is easy. Yeah. I could make a fortune out of doing this. And it's not easy. Definitely not.
It's one of the hardest jobs I've ever done, ever. To keep filling these events. We're running something like 15 events a week.
Yeah.
I've got to fill all those places, 15 events a week. It's a 24-hour day, 24-hour day, 7 days a week. There's no respite from it. And I have a team around me that work with me to fill these events. It's not just me doing it. We have, people in the office. We have people out in the events promoting. We have so much that we have to do and pay for. We pay for this. Yeah. It's not free. None of it's free.
That's it. People don't realise the amount of work that goes into it all. Going back onto the attacks, again, people set these companies up, don't realise really they're opening themselves up for attack. You probably agree yourself. It's not just what people see on social media. There's personal message attacks and everything goes off.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking. After what's happened the last couple of days, I've had so many messages from people. Some of them telling me their experiences at the hands of this person, actually.
Yeah.
What he's done to them, and telling me to be careful. Don't cross him. Don't do this. I'm like, what is going on here? How does one person get to be so intimidating to so many people? That person that I'm talking about is, to me, a very innocuous person. So there must be something going on that I'm completely unaware of, because we're talking people that have been ill because of it, that have lost their jobs because of it, that their families are upset. You know, I can get the family being upset because that's sort of happened to me in the last couple of days. But yeah, you're right. It's vile and vicious and needs to stop. It just needs to stop.
It does. I mean, a good friend of I won't name him a lot, but I think most of the people listening might know him, but he runs an event company himself and his wife, and last year they suffered no end of attacks off a certain few people. I think they were ex-team members, and it was constant for nearly a year. And it wasn't long ago, due to the stress of it all, the poor guy had an heart attack.
Oh my God.
He's back on his feet again now. He's taking his time to get back into running the company with his wife. But people don't realise the effect that these attacks have on people.
It's so disgusting. I mean, that poor person, but the last few days, I over 10 years, I've put up with an awful lot, more than I care to mention. And most of it's water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this week, it hit me like a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
That actually, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be sitting there like a sitting duck waiting for some idiot to just decide, I think I need to sell a few more things on my website. What can I do? I know, let's go and brutally attack that company for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's absolutely outrageous, and it needs to stop. And I don't know how it's going to stop, but it does need to stop.
That's the sad thing, is it ever going to stop? I mean, the guy in question, I've seen a lot of the attacks that he's perpetrated on other people. Mm-hmm. It was on my friends list for a while, and the last couple of times that I read some of his posts, I deleted them because they were so nasty and vindictive. I thought, I'm not having that rubbish as a friend.
No.
And I think that's why there's not only him, there's a few others that I've seen doing the same sort of thing. And I think that's why they're getting this reputation of people like, you don't want to mess with them, you don't want to. But at the end of the day, I think it's keyboard warriors.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, Sean, it's to do with this. You talked about TV. Now, I remember this person when he had an object that he was going to be quite famous with, this object.
Yes.
And it didn't come off. Now, I watched the reaction to all of that, and he was beside himself, literally beside himself. So that just shows you that's what people want to be on television. They want some fame from this, and they want to be recognised. And they may not be recognised anywhere else in their lives, but suddenly they found a niche where actually you could become important and knowledgeable, and people hang on your every word and all the rest of it. And I do think there's a strong element of that. I mean, I've been offered so many TV things, so many. And I can't even bear the thought of going on television. I could not stand the mockery and the attacks that would go with it. I couldn't cope with it.
It's crazy. You get all these attacks, but once these people do get the fame that they're after, then the attacks are worse than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to. I'm too sensitive. I would not be able to withstand the abuse that would come from appearing on a TV. I mean, I've done some in the past, and it was before Facebook, thank God. And so it wasn't too bad, but I would never do it now. Not whilst the social networking's like it is. The social networks are like they are. I wouldn't do it.
I mean, I've never known any sort of industry or seen any industry that causes so much aggravation as the paranormal.
No, you're dead right. And yet 90% of the paranormal environment, those that are in it, are brilliant people, and that's got to be really understood, because it's only a few, and yet because they're so vociferous and they're so attacking and so vicious in what they're doing, it sort of overpowers everything. So the 90% of good people, half of them are too frightened to even speak now, because of this threat of being attacked by people like him and others. I mean, his people that have joined in with him, I mean, they're just as bad as far as I'm concerned. They don't know me from Adam. Why would you call me these names? You don't know me.
It is crazy. In probably the 10 years I've been on Facebook in the paranormal, it's the changes that have taken place and the amount of people that have pulled out of it or stopped posting altogether anything to do with their investigations, their events, or anything else, because they're so sick and tired of being attacked. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we're very careful where we post now, because the actual places that we can post in, we've got no control over them. So we don't post to the point where people can sort of make comments, but we're not seeing where those comments are all being made. Do you know what I mean? So you can be attacked from behind the scenes. Yeah. So we're quite sort of controlled about where we post our adverts and our events now, and we have to be like that.
Definitely, it's really. I mean, hopefully, within time, all these people that seem to just want to attack other people or get bored and move on to something else, and let the people who want to do what we do and are serious about it just carry on and get things back to how they used to be.
Yeah, and people talk a lot about legislation, don't they? I mean, we've had this BACP, we've had a new one recently, I can't remember what that was called, MPA, something like that. So we have got people that are trying to moderate in a sense, but the problem with those people and anybody else, if you've got an invested interest in the paranormal, then you can't really be moderating the paranormal.
Yes.
Because I couldn't, because I make money from the paranormal, so anything that I say or do would be seen to be towards the good of my business.
Yeah.
So, but I do believe that there needs to be some legislation somewhere about, I don't know how it's going to happen, because it's never going to stop the Facebook attacks. No. You can control things like people that open up companies and then disappear with the money more, because there'll be more accountability for that. But you'll never be able to control the Facebook stuff. The only way to do that is just never respond. But how hard is that?
It is. I mean, I've struggled over the years. Years ago, I'd put a video up, somebody had slate the video stating they know for a fact it's this, that and the other, and I'd go on the attack, the defence. But I've learned it's pointless. Yeah,
it is. You can't. I mean, I should never have responded this week. I should not have done it. And I'm not, like I say, I'm not proud of the fact that I allowed myself to become embroiled in this. But like I said, I am a human being and I don't deserve this. None of my team do, none of my business, none of my company doesn't. And he didn't say it was haunted happenings, to be fair, this person.
Yeah.
So he didn't mention my company. I'm going to put that out there. There was no mention of it being my company. But when you did your research and then the screenshots that went up, it was obvious that it was about my company. So, it could be argued that he never even meant my company. But actually, it's like, anything. You can, you put light the fire, don't you? And watch it burn. And that's what happened.
Yeah. I think not just him, but I think there's a lot of people out there that enjoy doing that. They seem to like the blue touch paper and stand back and just watch all hell break loose.
Yeah.
And then move on to the next.
And then they're victims. They actually make themselves into victims as well. Yeah. It's like, how's this working then? So you've done all this and now it's, I can't take any more. I'm going, this is terrible. But actually, you know exactly what you're doing. If you're going to do it, have a bit more honesty about what you're doing. Have a bit of respect. Yeah. Ask the company that you're trying to attack, or at least make it a fair thing. Don't just find the negative or what you believe is a negative of something and make that your pivotal point. Look at the whole thing and make it a fair assessment and then put it out there. I've got no issues with people asking questions. Why is this so expensive? Could be the question.
Yeah, I say find out the facts before you put the post up.
Yeah.
Do you think that seems to be prevalent as well at the moment, where people are attacking other people, then when they get a comeback from it, are claiming themselves as victims?
Yeah, all the time. I see it all the time. It's almost like they don't anticipate the amount of rhetoric they're going to get back for what they're saying and what they're doing. I mean, I've got, like I told you, about 50 team members. Now, my team are brilliant and they never, ever join in on Facebook wars. They will never do it. But even this, I've seen some of them commenting, and even then they've been so respectful and so supportive. But they've not gone back and been abusive or rude. I've seen a few swear words, but again, it's the anger of what's happening that's evoking those emotions. It's not them as people.
I mean, not just this case with yourself. I think a lot of times when people see these sort of things erupting on Facebook, it does make the people who are serious about the paranormal angry. Yeah. That it's ruining the field that they enjoy doing so much.
Yeah, and the events companies get blamed for a lot of it because, and it's a circle, isn't it? So basically, the event companies get attacked because the pricing and everything else. We then respond, because we're an events company. We've obviously got lots of followers, so it becomes a bigger voice. Yeah. And then more people join in, which is why I'm so angry with myself for responding or retaliating, because it actually gives a bigger voice, and I don't want that to happen. It needs to be minimised.
Definitely. That seems to be one of the main issues at the moment with a lot of Facebook posts is, why should people be making money out of the paranormal? It's disgusting that people make money out of the dead. But the way I see it, and I've always said this from the very beginning, if somebody can make a business and earn a living out of doing what they love doing and what they enjoy, surely you'd be daft not to.
Yeah, but I agree, but I didn't set up Haunted Happenings to make any money. I honestly didn't. I set up Haunted Happenings because I enjoyed ghost hunting. Yeah. And I wanted other people, i.e. my friends and people I knew, to come and do it with me. So I was almost in a sort of situation where I wasn't trying to make any money, but I became very popular very quickly as an events, selling events. Yeah. And all I ever wanted was people to have the same experience, to be able to facilitate an experience that people could enjoy. They might not want to be serious and paranormal investigators. They might not want to ever do it again, but they just want to know what it feels like to be asking, who's there? Is anybody there, like they see on the TV? They just want to be able to go off and do that. And they might not do it again, or they might just completely dictate the rest of their lives that they're going to be doing it, because that's what happens a lot, as you know.
It gets addictive, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all we're doing. And the serious investigators, I mean, there's nothing better for me than for me and some of my team or my friends to go off and do our own little investigation. I absolutely get it. I know what it feels like. We don't do that on our ghost hunts. We don't have that time.
Yeah, because you're looking after everybody else. I mean, do you suffer from the thing of people turning up on your events almost to sabotage it, to really?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've successfully sued a person who unfortunately hadn't registered their business, so I was able to sue the person because they completely sabotaged one of our events. It was about 2 years ago, and it's taken me a long time to get to the point that I'm at now. And my offer was that I offered them the chance to do a monthly payment plan, or to have all the money, and it's a lot of money. And what I've done is a monthly payment plan, because I want them to know every month that they're paying, why they're paying that money. Yeah. Because that way they'll remember what they did. And it wasn't pleasant. I'm not going to go into it because it's only just literally sort of gone through everything's sort of finalised. But people need to think twice about doing that, because they can't. It's intolerable. You can't do it. You pay a lot of money for these locations, and people can't come in and start sabotaging the work that you're doing in the moment you're doing it. Yeah, it's dangerous as well.
But I mean, you got the health and safety aspect as well, with people being stupid and trying to ruin an event. It can be very dangerous.
Absolutely, and they know that. I mean, like I say, you've only got to you've only got to mess about in the dark, haven't you, on the steps, and then you're almost finished.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, no, I mean, it's a sore point really, but I do think people do come, and they think they come to poach your guests as well. We've had that, where people have been giving business cards out or taking the guests out during a smoking break, telling them how crap you are, and that if they join them, there'd be a much better experience. We've had all of that, and I think it happens everywhere. But, we're used to it now. We monitor it. But
wow.
the one that I'm talking about was a lot more serious. And, but I don't think people have the right to do that. They need to pay like we do to get their own business.
Definitely. I mean, we touched on like the BPA and things earlier on. Do you ever think that there will be an organisation that can sort of, for want of a better word, to police and monitor the paranormal?
I think what would be brilliantly helpful is that people can't set up a company, have no phone number on their website, have no real contact details. So basically it's just a team email. I mean, we've got team emails, but we've also got mobile number, landlines, we're registered, everything. So I think in order to be able to put, I don't even think it's just the paranormal, in order to be able to put a business up on a website, I think that business needs to be absolutely registered somewhere. Yeah. So if they can't just turn it off and disappear, which is what happens. They just turn it off and go. So they've taken all your money.
And then declare off.
Yeah. And I think what would be really helpful is if every business that went on a website was registered with a body.
Mm. It's like you say. I mean, if that was to happen, we'd need obviously people really that aren't involved in the paranormal to run it.
Yeah, business people that see things a lot more. They see things a lot more clearly than when you're in it. So there's no argument about the costs and everything else. It's just straightforward. Are you a reputable business? Are you intending? Is your intention to be reputable? Is your intention to look after people, your guests? It's all about intent, isn't it? And if we could find a way of sort of exposing that people have got good intentions and have got things in place, and I think it would be perfect.
Exactly. I mean, I've heard people talking in the past about sort of lobbying the government to produce a set of rules and a legislation for the paranormal community. What do you think of that one? Would the government, is that something the government might be interested in, do you think, or they'd just laugh it off?
Well, yeah, I was going to say something like that. If you had no knowledge of the paranormal, for example, say you were an MP with no knowledge, you'd never even thought about it, you just saw the odd programme, and then you were asked to legislate. I don't think people that don't belong in the paranormal world, or say don't belong, have got no involvement, would understand the enormity of it all and what a massive opportunity it is to make money. It is a big opportunity to make money for everybody, isn't it? Yeah. But because there's no understanding of that, because to a lot of people, even people that have come on it, we have still got a lot of first-time ghost hunters that never knew about events. They didn't know they could do this. They'd never seen it before. And there are still a lot of people out there that the paranormal is something that's on the TV and is a niche. It's not something that's as big as it is, and yet it is huge. It's enormous, isn't it? It
is, definitely. I mean, nearly every other industry, we've got like codes of conduct and this, that and the other. It just seems like the paranormal, anybody can become a paranormal investigator and set up events company. I suppose it's one of them things. How can you possibly monitor everybody? It's next to impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the locations could really help there as well. They're getting better at making sure that they've got public liability. They're getting better at making sure they're getting deposits for their events that they're selling. Yeah. And they're getting better at making our companies like myself fill out booking forms and agreements and documents so that everything's set in contract. And, that makes you accountable because you've got a contract. If you pull your event or you don't turn up, they can still chase you for that money, regardless of whether you come or not. It's the ability to disappear that's the most worrying, You know,
Yes,
we've had a few, haven't we, over the years that have literally just disappeared with thousands and thousands of pounds of people's money, causing havoc amongst paranormal once again, you know, because those that have been bitten by big companies like that certainly aren't going to trust another company.
You know, all it takes is like the odd couple we've had over the last year. And I think the public who book on these events, not so much the people already involved in the paranormal, but the Mr. Joe and Mrs. Joe public, it must ruin their trust in the paranormal.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, and there's lots of levels of trust, isn't there? I mean, you can missell an event. I mean, you know, that's really easy to do because your location changes so frequently that the areas change. So you get there and you suddenly haven't got what you're selling. So there's a level of trust there that they can attack you for. There's the trust in the fact that, you know, you treat your guests right. You know, they've come with an expectation they're going to be treated well. And included and looked after, and the event's going to be structured. And you know, if you abuse those sort of levels of trust, then they won't book with you again. No. And no group, I would defy any paranormal group that sells events to say that they're perfect. There is no way that you can be perfect in this field ever. You know, you're subject to all sorts of complaints, and because the levels of expectations need to be managed, you know. You know, whether your sugar was white or brown, it's becoming a predicament on an event, and you're thinking you're actually in a building that, you know, is hundreds of years old, and you're on your own with 20 people, 30 people, and you want brown sugar. You know, it's that sort of level, and that's what it's also coming to now, that the expectations from guests are changing dramatically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, have you ever had anybody ask for the money back because nothing happened?
Yeah, absolutely. But part of our introduction now, and it always has been, actually, I say now, I don't know if I've said that, but it always has been, is that if somebody phones me on a Monday and says, we want our money back, nothing's happened, then I will just say, I'm so sorry, but that's the way it goes. Yeah. If somebody phones me on a Monday and says, any of our team faked anything, then that is serious, you know, because my team are not, they do not have to, they have no responsibility to make anything happen paranormal. Yeah. Absolutely. It's not their job. Their job is to make sure they provide the conditions, end of.
Yeah. I think that's another big thing that a lot of people moan about event companies. They just fake things, they do this, they do that, they do the other. When, I mean, you yourself know, and I know, that's not the case.
No, because you know, you can't assume that if somebody, a guest on your event, you can't assume just because they don't say something doesn't mean they're not thinking it. So we, you know, I mean, I can't. There's a lot of stuff I can't stand on the events anymore. You know, I'm very intolerant of a lot of stuff that's subjective. So basically, say you came on one of our events and we all did arm raising for 3 people, and you had to bystand and watch arm raising. I would find that intolerable as a guest. I would be bored, fed up, and that sort of thing is, you know, it started happening again. I've noticed on a lot of events when you look at all the feedback on things on people's groups and that, and I just don't agree with it. You know, it's just my personal opinion, I know, but I don't agree that you should be a bystander as a guest.
No, it should be involved.
Be interactive and involved at all times.
Definitely. I mean, do you find it a struggle to sort of keep innovating and coming up with new things to try on investigations, to keep it sort of fresh all the time?
Yes, definitely. But because most people that turn up to a new location, it might be their first time at the location, their excitement level is already quite raised. And we try and mix the team up into the location, so it's quite exciting for each team member as well. Do you know what I mean? So they're going somewhere new, the guest is going somewhere new. We don't have that on a few locations because we have dedicated team within the locations. But you know, I do know what you're saying, and I do agree. You know, that it's hard to be innovative on something that is so subjective. You can buy all the equipment in the world, and yet the best equipment is the people that are on it. You know, just listening, observing, and trying to get your own experience is the most important thing you can do.
Yeah, it's like I say, you can buy all the equipment in the world, but also a lot of people take all the equipment in the world home at the end of the investigation.
Yeah. I mean, I probably turn up now and you know, I just like to sit in I went to the Galleries of Justice, actually, or the National Justice Museum as it's known now, a few weeks ago, and I managed to sit in the condemned cell with a couple of guests, and we did nothing. Yeah. We just sat and listened, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, to me, is the biggest thrill than watching something beeping. Definitely. I'm not saying they aren't exciting, these equipment. They are when they're working. It's really, if they're responding by controlled methods, it's fantastic. But personally, I just like to sit and listen to see what's going on.
Definitely. I mean, we've got 10 minutes left, so sort of swing way back a bit to what we were talking about earlier. Do you think that things will change for the better in the long run in the paranormal? Or do you think these sorts of attacks are going to carry on and on and on and just get worse?
Do you want my honest opinion, Sean?
Definitely, yeah.
I think they get worse. I think there's more events companies setting up all the time. I mean, it's almost like the population now, you know.
Yeah.
It's 2 people die, 2 people are born. It's that sort of thing with the events companies. You know, they're disappearing as much, and then new ones will pop up. I see lots of our guests setting up on their own, which is absolutely fair enough. You know.
Yeah.
I have no issues. It's not my place to judge who should set up an events company and who shouldn't. But I would just urge them to put a lot of thought into it. Ask questions from people like myself or other events companies. What's it like? What are the pitfalls? What can we do to counterattack what you've contended with? You know, what would you advise? I would literally sit down with anybody that wanted to set up a business like this, and help them to avoid a lot of the stuff that we've had to go through for their own sake and for the sake of the paranormal environment, so that they can progress and become successful.
And grow a thick skin.
Grow a very thick skin, but also, don't do what I've done this week. But also, you know, just keep going on a straight path and be aware of the things that can go wrong. You know, don't be naive. Don't assume that everyone's your friend, because they're not. They're not.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, they want something from you. You've now got something that they can either want to attack, or they want to use, or they want to be part of.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think because until, you know, people feel safe enough to contact people like myself or Jess or Natalie or, you know, Chris or anybody that's got a business like this, then, you know, they're going to have to live and learn in a very difficult environment.
Definitely. It's one of those things, isn't it, where, like I said, everybody, I can do that. But there's people like yourself who are quite willing to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Jess would. I'm sure Chris would. Yeah, I'm sure Natalie would. I'm sure they all would. I'm sure the companies, the established ones, would be more than happy to help, because it's for our own good. If we can have more competition and more events companies that are doing a fantastic job, then there's more choice for everybody. You know, nobody owns the paranormal. Nobody owns it. Yes, we might be the biggest event sellers, but I'm no more of an expert than somebody who goes on their first event next week. I'm no more of an expert than them. Nobody can be an expert on something so intangible. Yeah,
exactly. I think that's another thing that causes a lot of these arguments where people are stating, I know for a fact this and I'm an expert in that. It's like we're all working with theory.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, we've got experience and we know the locations well. But I've been with guests at their first event. They've caught something on their cameras, which is amazing. And that's their first event. I've been doing it 10 years. I've caught nothing. I've never seen a ghost. You know, I'm envious of them, and they've become more of an expert for me because they've actually had an encounter. I haven't. You know, so. Yeah, it's all about people trying to control the experience of others and become the font of all knowledge, and it can't happen. No. You know, I just find it all so wrong, and I think you're right. I'm right. It's going to get worse. It's just going to get worse and worse.
I agree. I think what in my humble point of view here, what people need to do, if you're in the paranormal for the investigation and research side, stick to your investigation and research side, and don't attack the people who are in it running event companies that are giving people an experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
At the end of the day, we're both there for the same reasons, just different approaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not ever gonna attack or slander or libel anybody who has an opinion or a theory on the paranormal based on their experience. But also, if they want, we go back to the cost element. If they want to join us on an event, then they can do at any location, and they will be kept in their own group and run their own investigation. They won't have a team member. They won't be herded around. They will be able to do what they do best.
Yeah. So people don't realise that, do they? That they can just approach somebody like yourself and say, Hazel, we've got a team of 5 people. Is there any chance we can come to Newsham Park?
Yeah, absolutely. And they don't. I mean, we've done loads. We've done hundreds of small groups at Newsham Park. So there are people that are aware. But the people that attack aren't aware, obviously.
No.
They've been making the call and saying, well, let us come to, I don't know, Shepton Mallet. Let us come to Shepton Mallet and let us do our own investigation there. Of course they can. It's not a problem.
That's it. See, again, this is how it should be, sharing things, all working together, which at the end of the day is for the good of the community.
Yeah, and competition's good. Having good competition raises standards. And if you've got another company or another group who's overtaking you because people are recognising that their company is better than yours, then you've got to step up again and you've got to make your company as good as it can possibly be. Exactly.
Don't attack somebody for going one step up the ladder further. Try and get up the next step yourself.
Absolutely. People come up with new ideas all the time, and some of them I see now. I see people saying, well, we're going to be doing this, and I've done it, seen it, worn the T-shirt. I'm not going to go to them and say I won't bother.
Yeah.
Let them find out if it works for them. It's not my place to say, well, actually, we did try that and it was awful. That's just my experience. It's not for me to dictate.
That's it. I mean, personally, what you posted about what happened to you, I completely agree with you posting that. I know you said you wish you hadn't, but at the end of the day, you can only take so much before it's human nature to kick back and say, hang on a minute, this isn't right.
Yeah, and I put on that post, I feel violated by people I've never met before in my life. I don't know these people, and yet they can swear at me and violate me, and I find it so disturbing actually that they can do that so easily. And it's not just me, is it? I mean, we're talking about hundreds of people that have had to deal with this sort of abuse. I'm just making a big fuss because it's me. Perhaps we all ought to be making a big fuss when it's everybody,
Yeah, definitely.
The next time I see somebody being attacked, I won't be quiet anymore. I won't. I will stand my ground and ask them why they're doing it.
People. It always seems to be the same sort of few people that are doing the major attacks. People need to stand together against them.
Yeah, and I think they have done. If you look at some of the comments back, they've all been quite sort of, I mean, obviously there's been the odd ones, which have been a bit choice, but they've all been like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
What are you gaining from this? And trying to put some perspective into what he's trying to say.
It's good when people can stand up for themselves to the bullies, for want of a better word, and put them back in the place.
Yeah. I mean, you've got people, and I can mention his name because he wouldn't mind, is Paul Stevenson from Haunted Magazine.
Yeah.
He puts himself in the firing line so many times, and I don't know how he does it, but he puts himself there and he takes it on the chin. I mean, fair enough, he can give a good fight.
Yeah.
But, he at least tries. He at least tries to say, this isn't fair, this isn't right. Somebody needs to work something out here.
Definitely. I mean, his page, the magazine page, is some fantastic things that he covers and stands up for on there, which is...
He always seems to go for the underdog. I mean, him and I are very good friends, and I would never, But in a paranormal in this sort of environment, I would never expect him to take my side because we're friends. I'd expect him to come back and say, "No, actually, Hazel, you've probably made a mistake there." Do you know what I mean? Because there's that level of trust between us that I would be able to take that quite easily. But I just find it also difficult. And going back to one of your questions, which was, do you ever think you've had enough? Yeah, many times. I've thought, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think we've all been there. Definitely, I think we've all been there at some point. I think we've about run out of time. Yeah, it's just turned 9 o'clock. I know, we could carry on for ages. Just let everybody know, if you just refresh the page as soon as we're off air for Penny's show, we should be talking about Margam Castle tonight on the Haunted History show. So as soon as we've done, refresh your page and have a listen to Penny, which will be a fascinating show as usual. And with that, I want to say thanks ever so much, Hazel, for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Sean.
That's right, and hopefully we'll probably do it again in another few months' time.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the listeners. Cheers.
Bye.
Goodbye. And with that,
thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.